Advisory committees are the best opportunity for Barrie residents to participate in council's decision making. The inputs from the advisory committees go to the City Council for the final consideration. For more details about how different committees work together, please watch my interview with City Clerk Wendy Cooke. The link is in the description below. Advisory committees also have representation from at least one of the city councillors. There are 13 advisory committees, and one of them is the International Relations Committee. The yearly budget of the committee is around $37,000. It reports to the Finance and Corporate Services Committee, which in turn report to the City Council. Decisions of the committee are not final until approved by the City Council. International Relations Committee is composed of one member of council, which is the Deputy Mayor Barrie Ward, one Georgian College representative, one representative from base Borden, one German Canadian club representative, and up to 15 citizen representatives. Citizen representatives are selected from 5 subcommittees. They are German Twinning Subcommittee, Youth Ambassador Subcommittee, Eras France Subcommittee, Murayama Japan Friendship Subcommittee, and the Borough of Harrogate and North Yorkshire United Kingdom Subcommittee. Various items were discussed during the last committee meeting, including a new website under consideration and visits by foreign delegations. The new website being developed by a student is almost complete. The major issue I faced while doing research on advisory committees is difficulty in finding contact information about committee heads. It is good to know that information will be readily available on the new website.
Website is pretty much complete. There's one or two small things that I just need to quickly add. Other than that, I've just been working with John, and we're essentially trying to get the city to approve the website so that it can be uploaded, and we'll essentially set up hopefully a system so that if we do want to make changes in the future, we kind of have like essentially deadlines that you have to have stuff in by, or an easy way to kind of process things and change them. So that's kind of what we're doing right now, and just essentially trying to get this up onto the actual thing. But in terms of content, pretty much everything is up. It's been bug tested already, so it should work quite well. Yeah, a lot of the images have been like optimized and stuff like that, so it actually runs pretty smoothly. And there hopefully isn't any bugs. If you do find any, please do let me know, just because we are just about to essentially send it off and have this uploaded.
One of the things I'm thinking is that we want to actually do a launch to this, not just pop it up live, but do a bit of a launch with media and council and all the rest of that routine sort of early in January, start the new year off strong at that point. I should also tell everyone that I sent the latest version of the web that Kieran had sent to all of us. I sent it off to members of council and to the mayor, and I can tell you that the response from, you never hear back from everybody. Everybody's busy, they're running lives, they're doing whatever they're doing. The mayor thinks it's fantastic and asked me to pass on his appreciation and congratulations to Kieran and the rest of the people involved in it. And we also heard positively from 4 members of council, councilors, I'm going to screw this up, councilors Morales, I'm going to mess up her last name, Kunkel, Harvey, and Harris all got back to me, and obviously Barry's been involved all along. So we're getting some good feedback. It seems really positive throughout this. So
the contact details for the chair and sub-chair of the committee and subcommittees will be available on the website. Hopefully, this will encourage more participation from the residents.
Chair of that particular group, whether it's Jeff Toole for Global Perspectives, or whether it's Bill Sargent for Harrogate, and your emails are there. And I just want to make sure that before we do all this and go public with it all, that in case you missed it, I just want to make sure no one's upset about that. You're all okay. And obviously when the chairs change, then the contact would change.
The new website will be accessible for people with disabilities. Some of the accessibility features include proper description for images and use of color with care.
It's just a last minute provision. I mean, I'm a little worried about how infrequently we meet and making sure that everybody, that the payment schedule is in place prior to the end of this budget year. And those are 2 pretty major things. I mean, let's assume that John is right and that Kieran's done it the right way and that everything is as easygoing as we presume it to be at this point. If all of a sudden there's a huge crisis with the accessibility people, and there's major work having to come forward in terms of labeling every single picture that's in the thing, or if there's some huge problem with files being transferred, I simply want to ensure that, and I don't think this would ever happen, it's just me being ridiculously cautious, but I think it's good to have those provisions in there so that there's still that $1,500 sort of Damocles hanging over Kieran. I mean, he didn't even want to be paid, so I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem, but I still want to make sure that it's done and we pay him at the end of a completed job that's been completed to our satisfaction. That's kind of the way the world works, or should work, and he should learn that early on. Yeah. So that's why Mark and I talked about it and we worded it the way we did.
Okay, I would like to make a motion, if I can, that Kieran Biles-Ho be paid the remaining $1,500 for his services once the following two conditions are met. One, that the accessibility provisions have been approved, and two, that the appropriate files have been submitted to John Mastroeni, City of Barrie IT.
There were other substantial expenditures by the committee, including a visit to and from Germany.
The expenditure for the bench in the military park, just under $5,000.
Yeah.
4,700 and some odd. And that's already out of the account. And there's the first $1,500 to Kieran.
That's right.
So the remaining amount is, Tammy has it in front of her. I don't.
$13,754 left.
That brings us down just under 10. Jean-Maurice, and I know this is an unfair question to you, but was there some thought of paying some of those airfares for the official part of that delegation to Zweibrücken in advance or not? I'm not upset if it's not. I'm just trying to figure out what budget we've got.
That we hadn't gotten that far, but Rob may have some comments about that. He may have already taken that into consideration. So I'll defer to Rob.
Okay.
Rob, did you hear that?
No.
Okay. Has there been consideration with respect to paying some of the airfares for going to Zweibrücken next year out of this year's budget?
Oh, I have no objections to that.
All right. Is it going to happen?
We were able to pay for the bench.
Yeah.
The Japanese borders are expected to remain closed until 2023, so the traveling plans are in limbo. The student exchange program with Eras France is also not expected to happen before 2023. However, German plans are still on track. Committee Chair Dave Morrison provided details about the plans.
Okay, one quick question. We know the dates for the travel to Zweibrücken are the 4th to the 12th of May. Do we have dates as to when they're coming back here?
Yeah, the dates for the Zweibrücken visit to Barrie are from the 4th to the 11th of September.
September. Okay, cool. All right. So that's lots of time to set that up. I've had a conversation with Rob, Jean-Maurice, Bill, and Mark about an idea I had. And one of the things that I didn't catch at the last meeting, maybe you guys did, maybe it wasn't said, is that the number that we were told was 6, and that's the official delegation. Like, that's the ones that we're going to be paying for, the mayor and his girlfriend and whomever else is going as the official party. But along with them are a number of other people that will be going, and also a separate tourist group that's going. And I know that Bunty, who's not with us this evening, unless she's, anyway, I don't see her on the list here. Bunty is doing some work along with Jean-Maurice and Rob, and the idea of getting some King Eddie Choir people may be interested in going, and what those numbers are. And my thought was, since we're already sending a tourist group, I had a thought of expanding it in what I'm hoping is an interesting way. That bus is going to have 55 people, so we should look at it and say, all right, so by the time you include some Germans and some official delegation, we've probably got 40 seats on that bus that we could sell to people. The tourist group is all paying their own way. So this is still in the planning stages, and I'll shorten this down to the base routes, and then we can talk about it, or you can at least know about it. my thought is, and I'm willing to do the work along with Jean-Maurice and his group, the Robs and Bunties. The idea would be that we would go to Zweibrücken for that week and participate in all the activities that are being planned there. And then at that point, some people might choose to go home. All right. I mean, I'm not going to force people to stay longer, but the plane ticket's the same price, whether you're going for 2 weeks or for 1 week. Stay for a second week and either go to Arras and visit Vimy Ridge and maybe over to Juno Beach or whatever in around there. And I had originally thought that we would then add a few more days and go to Harrogate as well. So that my whole thought was that was two things. Number one, we'd be starting this hopefully post-COVID time with making a fairly significant statement about we're back and we're intrigued and this is what we're interested in. However, as Bill wisely pointed out to me, Britain's in a different situation. They seem to be on wave 32. They just drag themselves out and then they fall back into it. And he's fairly confident that we'd have great trouble accessing it in a position where we could sell. I mean, COVID could cause all of this to fall apart, a week Tuesday, but at some point we have to start planning our lives again. And so even if we do Zweibrücken and Arras, Bill's convinced me that no one would be offended if we didn't do Harrogate, because from the British perspective, we're not in their neighborhood. To me, in Canada, we are, because it's kind of like just a hop across the channel. But from their perspective, if you're 100 kilometers away, let alone on the continent, you're on a whole different world. So the idea is now to basically do 2 stops. And in terms of who we would invite, I thought what we might do is put our heads together with different organizations that might be interested in eventually running under our auspices involving their own exchanges. So for instance, I thought of things like send an information package out to the Barrie Minor Hockey Executive. And in that we would say, here's what we're doing. We'd invite you to bring X number of people and not only enjoy what is available at our sister cities, but also perhaps consider while you're there whether you could see yourselves participating in an exchange. And if we send that out to Barrie Minor Soccer, Barrie Minor Baseball, we send it out to the Arts Society, we send it out to the service clubs. The service clubs all do these exchanges on their own anyways, but we've never actually approached them. If we do that kind of thing, then we might fill that bus with not only people that are going to go and represent us well and do a good job, but who might also come home and say, you know what, that was awesome. Work with us while we try and set something up on an exchange, an activity exchange, doing whatever. So that's the idea. I lay it out to you. I made sure that I spoke to people this afternoon because I didn't want to sandbag anybody. Generally, everyone's been very supportive of it. Conceptually, what do the rest of you think? Anybody want to say yay or nay? I mean, I'm not going to put a motion forward. It's all just information gathering at this stage. Any thoughts?
If I may, Dave, I love it. I think, people will want to travel when it's safe again, but they'll be hesitant. And I think this would give them a nice comfort feel of supports from back home, connectivity, to their community. I really love it. Barrie knows before COVID, we were trying to pull together some community work in Guatemala with that same sort of idea. I'd love to get more community members involved and going along to sort of broaden horizons and opportunities where people feel more safe and more connected to their community. I think it's a great idea, Dave.
Georgian College is participating in a student refugee program that supports 150 students across universities in Canada. Dean of International Education and Development at Georgian College, Leslie Paulson, provided more details about the program.
Yeah, just sorry, I never thought of this to put on the agenda ahead of time, but I just thought some of you might be interested that this fall or this upcoming fall, Georgian will be participating in what's called a WUSC student refugee program. This is a one-of-a-kind sort of resettlement opportunities within higher education. This program supports over 150 refugee students a year across 100 Canadian university and colleges. And to date, there's been, 2,500 refugees from 39 countries that have continued their education in safe, supportive communities across Canada since the program began.
Awesome.
So Georgian has decided that we are going to take on this endeavor because obviously there's a growing need to support refugees with all the political and climate issues on hand in the world. And so we are in the middle of filling out our application, and as such, we are trying to identify volunteers. They've asked, as part of our agreement, that we look at 5 sort of pillars to support a refugee in the community: financial, social, self-reliance, health and well-being, academic. So I've been meeting with leaders across Georgian to look at leaders in those pillars, but those leaders will be asking for volunteers to help them within those categories of support for this student. It's starting next fall. And so, not to throw it on the table for this committee, but just sort of as an FYI, if anybody is interested in supporting a refugee student at Georgian starting next fall for the next year by sitting on a volunteer committee, or has any ideas, because this is our first time around, more than happy to open the doors to, valued community members to take part in that initiative to support that endeavor.
I'd be happy to help, Leslie.
It's very interesting.
Sounds exciting. Great. Thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, thank you. I'll keep you updated once we fill out the application and I learn more. But I figured the hearts of this group might be interested in something
It's
like
very
that.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
Very cool. And sorry, I just want to say one more thing, Leslie. I don't know if you've reached out, but the Families Unite group in Barrie would be an amazing group to connect with that as well.
Okay.
So a lot of people that I've been speaking to lately that are looking for volunteer opportunities.
Excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm ignorant. What's the Families Unite organization?
It started when COVID hit, and it was a community group that got together to help those who were needing support during the lockdown. So it started as like grocery runs and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And it's escalated into a huge nonprofit group that is supporting our entire community. And our mayor has spoken very highly of this group right across Canada. So it's pretty powerful group.
Great.
That's really great information, actually, because we're about to welcome a very large cohort of international students. Lots of pent up students, couldn't get here when they had their study permits approved because of COVID. So a lot of students will be arriving this winter, and that's wonderful news to know that there's that type of group on hand in the community for both newcomers and for local community members. Thank you.
Great. That's awesome.
That was the update from the recent meeting of the International Relations Committee. See you next time. Goodbye.